Morning, Jim.
Good morning, Jay.
All right, Jim, so let's touch on the Twins who got beat by the Cubs yesterday 8-2, and probably worse news, Joe Ryan leaves after 2 innings due to an injury. Your thoughts?
Yeah, bad 2 days in Chicago. Bad, basically 36 hours in Chicago. They were rolling. They win the first game in Chicago. They're set up to have two of their best starting pitchers going heading into the Cleveland series, and then Pablo doesn't pitch very well. Joe Ryan walks off the mound with a triceps injury, and they don't score any runs the last 2 days. Two-game losing streak isn't definitive or final or devastating, but it wasn't a good development. Of course, the most important thing that happened is Joe Ryan just walking off the mound with a triceps injury. Rocco said it might not be as bad as you would have first feared watching him walk off the mound, but he will need some time to get back, and it stretches a shallow group of starting pitchers. It sounds like Louis Barland is going to be put into action here, and who knows? I mean, and now they're going to probably have to hope that either this doesn't take Ryan long to come back, or that Chris Paddock can contribute again.
Boy, it's good news that Simeon Woods Richardson and David Festa have looked pretty good, because they've really needed those guys.
Oh, they definitely have. And we've talked a lot about Twins' decisions, process of decision, spending money. Every deal I was told about that they could have made for pitching at the trade deadline would have been a deal that would have cost one of their best prospects or best players. What we can second guess is go back and say, if the Polehides have been willing to spend more money this last offseason, they could have gone out and gotten a veteran free agent starting pitcher who basically would have replaced Sonny Gray, and then they would have had more depth. Of course, you never know how it's going to work out. Blake Snell got off to a terrible start this year. Jordan Montgomery, another possibility, got off to a terrible start this year. And Simeon Woods Richardson has pitched really well. Now David Festa is pitching well. So you don't know, how that would have affected their overall record. But right now, it would be nice for them to have a little more depth.
Do you think that there's any chance that they'll have money in the offseason, or is it all dependent on TV deal?
When I talk to Twins officials about this, they say that what happened was basically the Polehides jacked their payroll past their level of comfort last season because they thought they had a chance to win big. And it worked to a certain degree, right? They won a playoff series. They were competitive against the Astros. And then the TV deal went down. They're like, okay, we're already, by their measure, losing money at this level of payroll. We would lose even more with this current no TV deal. So I'm hoping that having a better TV deal, formulating a better TV deal, making more money off the TV going into next year will encourage them to raise the payroll from where it was this year. But there's no guarantee. And I talk to people in the Twins organization, but I don't get any clarity from the Polehides themselves. So I can't tell you exactly what they're going to do.
Do we have any idea what the TV deal options are?
Obviously they ended up doing more work. What's the best way to put it? They end up finishing out this year with more of a deal with Bally's. They want to get away from Bally's. I think they would love it if somebody else would step forward and say, hey, we're going to handle your TV production. We're going to pay you a lot of money for the right to televise your games. The fallback, if that doesn't happen, and the way regional sports networks are going these days, that's probably not going to happen. The fallback and what the future might look like is MLB taking over all broadcasts, making all games available to their fans, and paying and keeping the revenues in-house. Now, maybe you don't make as much doing that, but it would be more of a sure thing. You wouldn't be negotiating year by year and having things fluctuate.
If that were to happen, would that give the Twins more money to go after free agents?
Yes. I mean, it would give them more. We don't know how much more, and we don't know whether the Polehides would consider that just, money that helps them break even, or whether they would want to spend it on players.
When you look at their contracts, certainly Carlos Correa is commanding a big part of their payroll. Would they look to drop payroll, do you think?
I don't think they're going to drop it past where it is right now. And I think they were willing to pay a huge amount of money for Carlos Correa. And I think, Phil, if we're going to get away from just sheer spending and get to philosophy, they feel like when they've gone out and just signed other teams' free agents, it hasn't always worked out really well. They thought Joey Gallo was worth a shot. He did not produce. They feel like you get better players by developing them and keeping them, or by making trades. And Derek Falvey's history with the Cleveland organization also was they traded for a lot of their best pitchers. So free agents tend to not always be what you hope they will be. They end up not being the core of your team. They end up being older players who might break down a lot. They're more comfortable spending money keeping their own players, and even that doesn't always work. I think they made the right decision to bring in Correa, but he's been hurt a lot. I think they made the right decision to keep Buxton. He's been hurt a lot. They signed Pablo Lopez to a big deal. He's had a really good half season last year. He has not just justified that contract otherwise. So, that's why I try to have a more nuanced conversation about this than just the Pullheads. The Pullheads are jerks. They should spend more money. It's easy to say. I can also point to 85 different examples of the Twins spending money and having it not work out.
Are fans fair to the Pullheads?
I understand the frustration. I would like to see the Pullheads spend more money than they spend. I just also, again, have to point out that spending money isn't always the key to success. Develop your farm system is more important than free agency. Trades are more important than free agency. Royce Lewis is a product of the farm system, not spending money. They have a wave of good young players, products of the farm system, not spending money. Most of the good players they've gotten from outside the organization have been trades involving generally trading away from a good farm system. That's the most important thing. The shiny bauble on top of this, the Christmas tree ornament, is free agent spending and payroll size. And it's the easy thing to always go to. It's a factor, but I go back to the Yankees. The Yankees won, 96, 98? The Yankees won 4 World Series in 5 years and almost came within one swing of winning a 5th in 6 years. And those teams were based on those were farm system teams. Pettit, Jeter, Posada, Bernie Williams, Mariano Rivera. That was the core of their team. And some of those teams they brought in like Scott Brocious and Charlie Hayes. They didn't even go after big free agents. They traded for Paul O'Neill. Then when they started spending like crazy again, they've won 1 World Series since the year 2000, outspending everybody. The Dodgers have won 1 World Series since the 80s, outspending everybody. It's just not as simple as people want to make it out to be.
Jim, let's touch on some of the other things going on. The Olympics continue. The United States women's basketball team won easily over Nigeria. They're going to play Australia in the semifinals. The men's team is going to play today against Serbia. Your thoughts?
The women are just better than everybody else. The men, this is really, now they're in the semifinals. There's a possibility the 2 toughest games of the tournament. Serbia, with Jokic playing really well, with Serbia kind of starting to play a little bit better. Again, the United States should win. Upsets do happen, and if an upset's going to happen, it might come against somebody like Nikola Jokic. And then if they win this one, they might be facing France, home court advantage, 2 great big men. So these will be 2 challenging games. I still think the men are the best. And we also saw some spectacular stuff out of the American track and field team yesterday. Quincy Hall winning the 400 with a brilliant race, a brilliant comeback. Lyle setting himself up to win the double. The track and field, American track and field team has been absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, they've been outstanding. I mean, do you remember a better track and field team as an overall team? Because it seems like in a lot of cases, they're getting 2 to 3 people qualify for almost every final.
Yeah, this is the strongest I've seen them. Winning the 1500 is something that just doesn't happen. Dominating winning the 100, Jamaicans have been dominating that event for so long. The women being this strong, it's been kudos to them. They've really reestablished themselves as the world track power, which is a surprise, frankly.
All right, Jim, the Vikings are going to play the Raiders on Saturday in their preseason opener. J.J. McCarthy speaking yesterday, saying he's getting a lot of help from Nick Mullins specifically. He also mentioned Sam Darnold as a helper. How do they view Nick Mullins? Is Nick Mullins a guy that could be a coach at some point? He seems like last year he made a lot of good decisions. He just didn't have the arm strength to get the ball in the places he wanted to get it to.
I don't know. He also makes some bad decisions and throws balls up for grabs, which is why he has a high interception rate. I don't know. It's possible he'd be a good coach. He doesn't really play like a coach. He plays like a gunslinger. I don't know about that. And listen, it's good that these guys are helping out J.J. McCarthy, but I think Kevin O'Connell and his offensive coaches are much more important in that process.
Do we know how much we're going to see guys play? Any idea on that?
They are not telling us. I'm sure we're going to see the top two quarterbacks. I don't know if we're going to see a third quarterback. I don't know how the playing time is going to be split. I don't think they really know yet. I think they're going to play it by ear.
All right. Jim, what do you got in your podcast?
Full slate is up. John Krasinski's show. We're going to do the Jeff Diamond show this morning. In fact, we're about to record it. We have a good Viking update show up. We have Dawn of Sports out. We'll do Chin Music today as well with Roy and Lavelle to set up the Cleveland series. Everything's at talknorth.com or on your favorite podcast app. We've added the Randy Shaver show. He's concentrating on high school football. He's great at that. We have Kevin Gorg, kind of an old school hockey show. So we keep adding, and everything's at talknorth.com or on your favorite podcast app.
All right, Jim, thank you. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Jay.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us each weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at Souhan Check out his latest column in the Star Tribune or his podcast at talknorth.com. Jim, once again today, brought to you by the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud. News from ABC next on WJON.